everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is a video that I wanted to make for a long time, so finally I'm sitting here to make it for you. And in this video I'm going to talk about why I love using my serger. I'm going also to share with you my 5 most functions that I'm using for my serger, because as we all know, a serger can do a lot of stuff, but you know, it's like using your sewing machine. You have like 300 stitches, but actually you always use maybe 5 of them. So in this video I'm going to show you my 5 most functions used with for my serger, and at the end I'm going to give you as a small bonus how I am taking off serger stitches. There are a few methods. I'm going to show you the method that I'm using the most, and I'm also going to show you the one that I'm not using and why. But that will be at the end of the video. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. And I always love hearing from you and your opinions and comments under the videos. So if you want to leave a message, I'll love to read them. So back to this video. I have at the moment I'm using a Babylock Acclaim. It's a serger that I bought, I think last let me think, at the end of 2020, I think. So I have it for a while, or was that 2000? Yes, 2020, something like that. But as a small history, how I started using a serger, I remember a little bit, I think 1 year or something like that after I started sewing, or 2 years later, I was looking for a way to finish my projects on the inside, to finish the seam allowances, something else than the zigzag stitch, which is no problem with, of course, but something faster I wanted to have, and even a little bit to like I see in the ready-to-wear garments. So I started to look a little bit of the internet. Back then it was not so much information like now, but I realized that I needed serger, an overlocker. So looking a little bit around, I was really intimidated about all the threads and about all the settings, and that you need to change, and it's a big fuss, and you really need to be prepared. And first I was thinking, I don't know if I want to have that. Then I was thinking, well, I'm going to do my best to make it work. And because I did not have so much information, I remember that I said, okay, I want to have a serger, and I'm going to sell my sewing machine so I can use the serger, because the serger is doing everything. And I even listed my sewing machine. I cannot remember what I had at the time. I think it was a Toyota or a Brother, a really basic machine. But I put it for sale, and after reading a little bit more on the internet, I realized, wait a second, I need a sewing machine next to my serger. It's not like, I mean, the serger can do a lot of stuff, but sewing machine is necessary. So I took the sewing machine from the internet off, and because I was not sure how I'm going to, if the serger is really something for me, I decided to buy second-hand one. So I bought one for, I think it was like 200 euros, a Bernina 700D or something like that. It's a really great machine. It was already used, of course, but I did use it for a long time, and it was a great machine. To be honest, after I started using my serger, I was thinking something like, how people that do have a serger don't use them. It's such a big shame. You must not be intimidated by a serger. It's making your sewing life so much easier, so much faster, especially if you are using, if you are sewing with a lot of knits. I know that, of course, you can sew knit fabric easily on your sewing machine, but if you have a serger in your closet somewhere, and like a lot of people, they say, I have it and it's gathering dust, please take it out and take a moment to get used to it. I had the chance to work with the basic machines, like the ones that you can find in the Lidl and stuff like that. It is a little bit more work to thread them, but if you keep your machine clean, and if you take the time to learn it a little bit, it's really worth it. I mean, it's making everything so fast and also very neat. So that is how I started using a serger, and I was really amazed how beautiful the things are looking and how fast everything is getting finished. So today, after the Bernina, I had a Babylock, what was the other name? It's Babylock Evolve, or I cannot even remember. This is not even so long ago. But anyway, that one got used for 7 or 8 years, and now I have this one, and this one is a really great machine too. And the big difference is that this one has also the wave stitch that I did try it. I think I did put it on a few samples. And also something else that I tried with my serger, it was making lace with the serger. Did you know you can do that? To make lace with your serger? That's a really great. And this is the stitch, the wave stitch that is on this serger. Also a really cool function. But today I'm going to show you my most 5 used functions on my serger, and these are 5 functions that any serger can do. Any serger with a 4-thread overlock can do this. And to be honest, I don't know my machine out of my head, so I'm still using my book. This is a fast guide for my serger, and I always have this one somewhere near me, because if I need to change the settings, I can use this very easily. I noticed something that, for example, when on this machine, because this one has no tension discs and stuff like that to use, I really need to have this one, because sometimes the threads are getting, depending on the stitches that I'm using, are getting threaded through other guides here. Probably is affecting also the tension, and that's very important to get the stitches that they are, or the quality of the stitches that is supposed to be. So enough of back history and enough of general stuff. Today I'm going to show you the following things that I'm doing with my serger. First of all, it will be the 4-thread overlock that I'm using mostly on my knit fabrics, and I'm using this on stable knits. I'm using it on softer knits like rayon jerseys and cotton jerseys. I'm even using it on more fluffier knits. If you have a machine that needs adjustments on that has tension adjustments, you always need to make a test piece, and of course a sample, and of course it's always useful to use your manual for more information when you are sewing all different kind of fabrics. So first of all, it's going to be the 4-thread overlock used for construction. Secondly, I'm using my machine for finishing edges, finishing seam allowances in my woven garments, and for that I'm using a 3-thread overlock. Another function that I'm using very often is stabilizing the shoulder seams with a clear elastic on my knit fabric garments, so like t-shirts and sweaters and dresses from knit fabrics. I'm always putting clear elastic in my in the back shoulder seam, and also the clear elastic I'm adding it when I'm making, let's say, garment with a jersey garment, let's say in a soft rayon, in a rayon jersey, and I have a bodice and a skirt that needs to be attached. I'm also always putting there immediately a clear elastic to keep the waist in the right place. So we have 3. Another one is making a blind hem with my serger, and I'm using that mostly for a little bit more loftier knit fabrics like ponte knits or other kind of jersey or knit fabrics that they have a little bit of a structure. Blind hem is working really nice. to give you a blind hem, of course, that is not distorting the look of the garment. It's also very fast, and it's also finishing the edge of the hem. And lastly is I'm using my serger very often for gathering fabric, and I'm going to show you that also in a minute. So let's get started with my 5 most used functions on my serger. So let's get started. One of my most used functions of my serger is to construct garments made out of knit fabrics, like ponte knits. This is a ponte knit fabric, or rayon jerseys like this one. So for these ones I always use my serger, and for construction I'm always using a 4-thread overlock formation, so 2 needles, and of course the lower and the higher looper, and I'm almost always using universal needles, even with my knit fabrics construction. And I must say, if you know, test your fabric, but in the fabrics that I'm sewing I never noticed holes or I don't know, other kind of problems, but I know there are a lot of people that they are swearing by using stretch needles when using stretch fabrics. I'm saying I'm using universal needles. They are working for me, so I'm just going to stick with them. And mostly now again it depends on the fabric, but I'm mostly using 80 needle, size 80 universal. Again, my sewing machine has no tension disc, so I don't need to change anything here. But if you have a machine that it does have tension discs, of course. But the settings are preset in the fabric, in the factory, so I don't need to change anything. The only thing that I need to change here, depending on the fabric that I'm sewing, is the differential feed. I'm keeping it normally on neutral. But if I sew something very stretchy and something like, let's say, that is going to get a wavy seam, then I am always putting it 1 or 1.5. Depends really much on the fabric. And always I'm making a sample to see how the fabric in combination with my settings is working. So in this case I have this double knit here, and my knife here is engaged, and it's only a matter of sewing. And I can stitch off, and this is what I get. Of course, fortunately I have a white thread, but you can see how beautiful the seam is, and this is really a very durable seam. It's not going to get unraveled or stuff like that. It's very stretchy also, and yeah, as you can see, it's very fast. If you are to make this, I mean, if you have a serger and you don't use it and you still make your knit garments on the sewing machine, please give a try to your serger. You'll see that this is so fast. With the sewing machine you need to make a stretch, you need to use a stretch stitch, and then of course you don't need to finish it because the knit fabrics, they are not going to ravel, but like this you have a really beautiful seam with a beautiful finish, and of course also very fast, as you saw. So this is a 4-thread construction stitch for the for knit fabrics. This is a ponte knit, a double knit, and I have here also a small sample to show it on rayon jersey, and this is something much softer, as you can see. And for this one I am using, I need to adapt sometimes to play with the differential feed. You see, I'm just going to stitch off. This is a great machine. The Babylocks are always delivering really great results, and this is how it's looking. As you can see, very stretchy and perfect tension, really beautiful. But again, if you have a machine that needs to have adjustments, make a sample like this and then play with the tension to see what is the best one for the fabric you are using. You always have to make a sample to see how it's working on the project that you are making. So this is in a very soft jersey. In this case I have no waving, but if you would have that, you have to put your to put the differential feed a little bit higher, and then everything is going, the fabric is not going to be stretched as much, but a little bit compressed, let's say. But I mean, is a big word, compressed. But you'll see that then you'll not have those wave you know, stitching when the project is going through. So this is the 4-thread overlock, really easy, very fast. Again, if you have a serger in your closet, give it a try and you'll see how fast your knit fabrics will be sewn. Okay, cut. Okay, the next one is, okay. For the next function that I'm using the most on my serger is finishing edges of woven fabrics. So let's say I have here, I don't know, this is a sample. This is a piece of cotton polyester stuff, and as you can see, it does starting to fray a little bit. So my way of dealing with this with the serger is using a 3-thread serger formation, and to do that mostly I'm using my left needle only. So I'm just going to cut the thread of my right needle. I did put my presser, I'm going to put my presser foot on up. I'm just going to unscrew the right needle and take it out. Something else that I'm not doing, and a lot of people are doing, and I see that in a lot of videos, to tighten the screw back after you took the needle out. In my manual is saying, they say there, don't do it, don't screw the screw back, because you have the chance to do it too much and then to break and to damage stuff here. So I'm not doing that, it never came out, and I'm searching a lot, I can assure you. So I took the needle out, and of course the thread is out. I'm going to put my presser foot back. And now, so I'm serging now only with 3 threads. My differential feed is back on neutral. I always have that on woven fabrics. And you see how easy this is. And of course, I can decide how much far I want to, how small I want to have the seam allowance that is getting overlocked. And sometimes I'm following one of these edges on my presser foot to be a little bit straight. And look how beautiful and how fast this is. I mean, this is really fast. You cannot beat this with a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine. So again, if you have a serger, try this, you will love it. And so this is in this way I'm sewing, I'm serging, I'm finishing the seam allowances together. But of course you can do this also on both seam allowances and then press the seam open. Of course there is no problem with that. And this will be pressed to one side only. So this is a 3-thread overlock. For the next sample that I want to show you is attaching or putting clear elastic in the shoulder seam for stabilizing the shoulder seam, or in your waist seam when you are making a nice dress with a skirt that can get the garment to hang a little bit. A piece of clear elastic is really perfect to have it in your seam to keep it on your waist. But for this because it's a construction. I'm using it when I'm also constructing the garment, so in the same time. I am putting my needle back. I'm going to put my presser foot again, put the needles all the way back. So I'm putting my needle back here, and I can see it that is all the way up, and screw it tight, but not overdoing it. And I'm going to put my thread back in. Let's see. They get a little bit entangled here. Yes. And okay. So for this, I'm always using, of course, being a construction seam, I'm using the 4-thread overlock. Let's see. And because I have such great eyes, this machine does have you know what, I can also do that. It has, you can see how that works. It has a automatic threader. So I lock this stuff, I put it down, and then I put my thread here. It does make a little bit of noise, and I don't like that. Push the button, and then like that. But it does make a little bit of noise. So I have it threaded again. I need to put this back and close. Okay, my serger, take a few stitches. Yes, my serger has, I'm going to take this for a moment out to show it to you. My serger has here a small hole, this one. And I can easily, this will fit my 6mm clear elastic through very easily. And that's also a reason why I'm using this elastic. As you can see, it goes here, but it's much easier. So I'm just feeding the elastic through this hole, and then when it's sewing, it's taking also the elastic and sewing everything on 1-to-1 ratio. Let me see if I can put this. I don't have such good visibility here now. Yes, okay. So now to put my elastic in, I cut it always a little bit on an angle. I hope you can see here. Oops. And then with my tweezers, I just put it here in the hole, push it a little bit, a few millimeters or a centimeter or two, to get a little bit close to my needles. Put the presser foot down, and then take a few stitches, and then the elastic is in there. And now I'm always applying this on the back. I have here a small sample. I'm always applying this in the back shoulder seam, because mostly I'm pressing the shoulder seam to the back, and like that the elastic is also getting covered. And let's see, I don't have the best position here because of my camera, but okay, let's see. In this is, I copied this from a pattern that it has a 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, so I need to take care of that. Mostly I'm putting like this, that my knife is a little bit high, that I can get a little bit closer here in, and then I can start sewing. Let's see what is happening here. And the elastic is just getting taken by the machine. I'm not pulling, I'm not doing anything, because otherwise I'm going to get gathers in my shoulder seam. So also very important, never let your pins get into the knife, because that is going to damage your knife and you'll have to change it. So I'm just going to sew, and I'm sewing on the back shoulder seam. And when, of course, I need to do 2, I'm just taking the next one, put a little bit closer here, take my pins away, oops, and I'm just going to continue sewing. And then at the end, I have on both shoulder seams my elastic added. I can cut it here. let's see. So this is what I have. I need to cut this, and it's really hard to see, but my elastic is there. The seam is very stretchy. Can you see that? Oh yes, you can see it now. And on the front of the shoulder seam is nothing. So when I get to press this can it can be easily pressed. It's really taking heat very good. And then I press this to the back, and the clear elastic is here in the back seam that is going to be covered when pressed. So that's also very nice, and of course on both of them. It's the same method when applying for, let's say that this is the bodice and I have to have the skirt. I'm putting, it depends, I'm choosing, I need to know where my seam allowance is going to be pressed. If it's going to be pressed downwards, I am going to sew with the skirt part up, so that the elastic is always going to come on the seam allowance that is going to be pressed under, let's say. So, but exactly in the same way I'm applying also on waist seams. And now, because I have the 4-stitch formation still, so with 2 needles, I can also show you the way that I'm using my serger for gathering fabric. It's also very, very easy, and is also something that I'm using a lot. I do have for this, I have it, but I don't use it. I have a foot that is a gathering foot, but with this foot you do actually 3 things in one time. You can you are gathering one piece of the fabric, attaching it to the other piece that is not getting gathered, and also finishing off the seam allowances. So this is a foot that is doing 3 things in one step, but to be honest, I never used it. I still need to try it to see how it's working, but I'm using my my usual foot to just gather fabric. Let's say if I have a long ruffle that I need to gather, I'm using this method. So to do that, I'm going to cut this piece with the elastic. So a little more. To do that I am putting my differential feet all the way up. So you see that is gathering fabric already, and to make it easy to adjust the stitches, I am putting my stitch length all the way to 4. That is my maximum on my serger. So I have here my piece of fabric that I want to gather. You can see it's pretty long, and I am going to start sewing. Let's say you need to be to take care, because this is, of course, is going to start my stitch at the edge. So let's say if I have on my bodice, I have, let's say 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and on my piece to be gathered also, I am going to sew it at the edge. Or I think the best results are if you are taking your seam back to 1 centimeter and using the widest stitch on your serger, and that is going to bring you almost to the 1 centimeter, and then you can stitch, and all the stitches, they are going to be cut in the seam allowances. So I am going to start sewing now, and you can see that is already getting a lot of gathers. So stitch length really high, and the differential feet also very, very high. And I'm to cut it a little bit long. And this is how it's looking. This is really, really cute and really, really fast to do. And if I want to make this even smaller, let's say to be married with my small piece of fabric, I can find my needle threads, and those ones are really easy to be found, because especially you can also use a different color for your threads, for your needles, but you can see them also here running. Can you see them, these straight ones? So I just the needle, I can take them out here, and you can see, because my stitch length is really, really big, I can adjust this really, really easy. Of course, you'll be careful not to put it from the other side all the way out. So this is really nice. And it's really very, very fast. I find it much faster than with the sewing machine. And not only much faster, but I think it's also giving much better results. Of course, here I'm going to take them also out. Let's see, where are they? Oops. No, I'm going to take them and stitch inside. That's why I'm saying maybe it's even better if you are using a little bit contrasting threads for the needles. They're really easy to be found. But look, I mean, this is really, and after you sew this, it's really easy. Just pull the threads all the way out and everything is going to come out. So this is also done with the 4-thread stitch formation. And the last tip, of course, is going to be the blind hem. For that, I have a full tutorial here on YouTube, but I'm going to show it really, really fast. So for the blind hem, I have installed the blind hem foot, and I'm going to take it out for a second that I can show it to you. So this is how it's looking. Is a little bit similar to the one that you'll have for your sewing machine. It has here a little screw that you can untie it or make it loose a little bit, and this thing is getting just a little bit, this metal thing, you can adjust a little bit to the left or to the right, because the idea is exactly as with your sewing machine, to catch just a little bit of fabric here on the needle. And for the serger, so this is a special foot that you need to buy separately, but for me it's really worth it. Of course, this can be done also even without this foot, but it's a little bit more work. My machine, this Babylock Acclaim, and also the other one had the same settings, so I'm using a two-thread formation, so I'm using only my right needle. That is also called a 2-thread flat lock small. So I'm using only the right needle and the lower looper, and the upper looper is bypassed with a small handle that is covered, is blocking that hole that normally my upper looper thread will go in. For some other machines, for example for the Bernina, I had a little small thing that I had to put it there. So the 2-thread formation, this is what the instructions are asking in my manual for this foot, for the blind hem. And you start with your hem that you can pin it. So I have it here pinned, and I'm going to put my pins just a little bit lower. I'll show you in a minute, like this. And as you'll do with the sewing machine, you'll have to, so this is the hem, you have to turn it and to expose a little bit of the hem allowance here. And of course, depending on the width of your hem that you want to keep, you expose more or less here, because this is going to be cut away a part of it. The differential feed must be on neutral, and in this machine I have on the stitch dial here must be on B. Again, every machine would be different, and the idea is the knife is engaged. I have a 3.5 stitch length, and the idea is that my fabric needs to run against this blade, but in the end I really need to catch only just a little bit of fabric. And of course this is going to be a test, I cannot be sure exactly how much I have, but again the knife is cutting a little bit of the of this hem allowance, and the secret is to catch just a little bit of fabric. And of course this works best with printed fabrics, a little bit loftier fabrics, a little bit of how should I say body to it, and using matching threads is really important. and I can see that I'm catching now just a little bit too much. I'm going to take it out to show it to you. So this is how it's looking directly out of the machine. You see? We did catch a little bit of thread here. This is on the other side. As you can see, the tension is a little bit loose, and it's supposed to be like that. And then, this is how it's looking. But then if you pull this a little bit, you'll see that the stitches are actually covering the hem really, really nice, or the hem edge. So this is from behind. And from the front side, of course, again, if you would have a matching thread, it will be really good hidden. In a print like this, where you have to choose what you want, which thread you want to use, what color, but as you can see, if you press this, everything is going to be covered. And again, by tightening or loosening this screw and moving this blade a little bit to the left or to the right, you can get really nice results and a very nice finish. As you can see, also the edge is getting finished. Let's try one more time. I should go a little bit like this. My blade should come just a smidge to the left, but I don't want to. I have nothing for the screw right now, so I'm just going to see how it's working now. Again, the really messy tension here, and as you can see, is almost invisible. And just pull it a little bit, and look how beautiful the inside. I think this is a really great and really fast way to hem your knits. As you can see, I mean, you need to be really close to see the stitches. So I was thinking that it would be nice to show you also how I'm taking out serger stitches, and of course sometimes I'm making mistakes and I need to take them out. For example, if I need to take out serger stitches from woven fabric. Mostly I am using that method that you are pulling the needle threads out. So let's see, I have here this piece, and I'm going to find the needle threads, and you can see them, these straight ones that are running here. Just going to pull them out. And this is a method that I find that mostly is working on woven fabrics. And of course it very much depends also on the stitch length, but here I have a 3 stitch length, my usual stitch length. And you find the needle threads, and then you just pull this really gently if it's possible, and keep pulling, and here I'm cutting. So this is working best, or at least I find it in my daily sewing routine when I need to take something out. That is working the best when is used on woven fabrics. And as you can see, you take it and then everything is out, the loopers, and then you have a very clean seam immediately, and you can go on a bit of pressing maybe and go on with your project. But I find that in a garment like this is a little bit difficult to take them out, and I'm going to cut this a little bit shorter because otherwise I don't have enough to show you. So I have it here, let's say, and I need to find also the needle threads again, a little bit closer. Let's see, there are these ones. Take them out. The problem is that in and I'm really not doing anything crazy, in a knit fabric I have the feeling that it's really hard to take the stitches out if you are using the thread needles. So instead of that, when I'm making mistakes, and especially in a garment on a knit fabric, I'm using this mostly for, of course, for construction. So I have 2 needle threads. So instead of taking the needle threads out, and this you can do on either on the right side or the wrong side, I'm just using my seam ripper, my normal seam ripper, and I'm here on the right side of the stitch, as you can see. I'm just combing with my seam ripper, and I'm just cutting the stitches, the looper stitches here, just above the right needle. Of course, in this position it's a little bit difficult, but I'm going really very. And if you lift a little bit your seam ripper up, you can take a few stitches at one time. And I'm continuing like this to the end. But it's really much easier than trying to pull those needle threads in a knit fabric. I mean, because of the type of the fabric, I have the feeling that the stitches are getting a little bit smaller. So this is, for me, is the method that is working the best. So I have here the looper threads cut, and of course you do get a little bit of mess here, but you can see it's really easy to take off these small threads. And just wait for it. So these are out. It's really not difficult. I'm going to cut this off. And then what you can do on this side, you see, you have the other looper, and then you just take one of this out, and then everything is coming. Of course, now that I need to make this video, it's not coming everything. Let's see what I did here. You see, I forgot to take all these little threads, needs to be out, and then you just pull it completely out. And then of course you have also the needles that are just very easily coming out. And this is how I'm taking the overlock stitches out on the knit fabrics. And even in this small sample that we try to take off, even from the wrong side of the seam, if you do the same, you cut only the looper threads. Again, this position is not the best to do this. But you just run your seam ripper in the stitches, as you can see here. And I can assure you that trying to take the needle threads in a fabric like this out can be really, really annoying. I mean, with everything, taking stitches out is annoying. But okay. Yes, I have here a few more. So this is from the wrong side. Again, here the threads are getting out. I have the feeling that on the other side they are getting even easier out. You can also let the threads here, because when you take the needle threads, there you are going to put them to the other side to pull them. So you see, if you don't take them out now, you can take the other looper out. And now when I take the threads out, these are a little bit tight because, you know, I just try to pull them on this sample. Let's see. And you can see the threads are coming now, and you take them even easier out. Really easy, actually. Doesn't matter which way you do. You take first, if you start from the right side of your stitch, the looper out, and then on the other side you'll see that the other looper is just coming out, and the needles, they will follow immediately. And if you take from the wrong side, the looper, again, just run your ripper and cut it off, and then the other looper and the needle will pull the threads out. So these are my tips for taking off, for ripping overlock stitches. So I hope you enjoyed my video. These are my most used functions for my serger. Of course, there are many more other stitches that a serger can make, like the flat lock stitches and all kind of the lettuce hem and the rolled hem and a lot of other stitches that can be done with the serger. There are also other kinds of feet that can be used with the serger. I do have here some of them, and maybe in a future video I'm going to try this and to show what the ones I have a total of 5 feet, what they are doing. So there is a lot to be done with the serger, but only for these 5 steps, for these 5 functions, I'll always buy a serger. For me, a serger is really something that is making my life, my sewing life, much easier and enjoyable. And it must not be it doesn't have to be an expensive serger. It can be also a $300 or €300 serger that is going to work great if you just take the time to learn it and to learn its functions. So I hope you enjoyed my video. Please give me thumbs up if you like it, and share it with your sewing friends. Also, again, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see my future videos. I have some interesting garments that I sew, and also one that I'm sewing at the moment, and I'm going to share with you also my my tips on making that, and I'm going to change some stuff and to share with you how to make that garment even nicer than the original. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!